What's up guys, Griffith here. Today I'm bringing you my first in-game build, and this one is going to be focused on tanking. In my previous build videos, I felt like I had left out some very important things, such as Munda stones, food buffs, armor traits, things like that. So in this build, I'm really going to try to focus on hitting every point so you guys know exactly what I'm running for each build. So let's start with the attributes. Nothing new here. 49 into health. You guys have seen my other build videos, so you know that I do a lot of different. I perform a lot of different roles. Whether it's I'm damagey kind of person in PvP. I like to DPS as well in PvE and tank. So I'm not going to change this around, and spend that 5,000 gold every time I want to change roles. So this is the easiest way to get the health I need to do all of those things, and then I'll just gear for magic or stamina after that. So that's pretty much what you're going to see in every one of my build videos, 49 in the health. That's what I recommend. So now let's go to the armor. For my armor, I am running 5 heavy and 2 light. My heavy pieces are chest, shoulders, gloves, legs, and boots. And my light pieces are helm and belt. For the heavy items, I am running the reinforced trait. This increases the armor value for this item. So this is going to give me a ton of base armor, which as you can see right here is already overcharged, completely unbuffed at 1946. This is tremendously helpful for, taking big hits. For my light pieces, what I'm using for, this is just a VR1 world drop, and as you can see I have the helm here, and then I have 2 of the jewelry pieces. This is the set of the Warlock, and what this does is once per minute when below 33% magicka, gain 520 magicka instantly. So this was also in my, I believe, my VR solo build. This is just, if you're magicka based, or even if you're not magicka based, there is no stamina equivalent for this set, so it's kind of a bummer, but this set is just amazing. So I think there's very few builds out there where you literally don't use magicka at all. So this can really benefit everyone. So this is the set bonus I have for this. For my set bonus for my heavy armor, I'm using the Hist Bark set. The 3-piece for this adds 375 disease resistance, and the 5-piece for this adds 200 dodge rating while blocking, which is equivalent to 20% dodge rating. So when I'm blocking, I have a 20% chance to dodge each attack outright. So that's what I'm using for that. My belt here is the first piece of the Twilight's Embrace set. This increases the healing I receive by an additional 10%. Now I can't change the trait on the Warlock set. I can't change these traits for for the jewelry or the helm. So this is just infused, which basically increases the armor enchantment effect by a percentage. So that I can't touch, but it's still a great set either way. So that's what I have on there, and these are all, as you can see, magicka based. They all have magicka traits. Reinforced on the heavy again, and then for this, because this is light armor, so going reinforced would be completely pointless. It would give me like literally 1 additional armor or 2, something silly like that. So I just went with infused here, which is going to give me a little extra of magicka because that's the glyph I'm using here. Now the glyph I'm using for all of my heavy is actually stamina. Because I use this belt for both DPS and PvP, DPS, and tanking at the moment, because I haven't gotten my other belt for those things, I just left this as magicka. In the future I would probably make this stamina. Just give me additional stamina for blocking, dodging, things like that. All of my heavy pieces are already stamina, as well as my shield. So let's get down to the weapons. So these 2 pieces complete my Twilight's Embrace set, the sword and the shield. Shield's also got reinforced trait, and the sword has infused trait. Ideally I would want defending as a trait, which would increase my spell resistance and my armor by, I think, 5%. I did not have the trait researched for that, so I just went ahead and put these together. I'll probably switch to that in the future, but right now I'm just using infused with a glyph that deals 37 magic damage and recovers 17 stamina each time it procs. Which, for those of you that don't know, the weapon enchantments are on like a 6 to 8 second internal cooldown, just base, and then there's things like powered traits which reduce the time on that, and then as you can see from my DPS set here, I have Torog's Pact, which reduces weapon enchantments internal cooldown by 1 second. So there's a few things that can drop that cooldown, down a bit. My second weapon set here is dual wield. So one-hand shield here, and then dual wield. Also running the Twilight's Embrace set for the 10% additional healing. Now I'd probably also put defending on these two, but right now I have precise. I use these for multiple things, for multiple roles. So instead of just dipping full on into tank, I kind of, split some of my stuff around so that I could use it for different stuff. And this also very critical. I believe I showed this in the VR solo build. I need to upgrade this at some point because it is VR 1. But this adds 1,000 flame resistance, which I need because I am a vampire and I'm not a Dunmer. So this caps me on the fire resistance I need, bringing it to 25%, down from 50. So I can still take hits. And surprisingly enough, taking 25% extra fire damage will not make or break you for tanking. I've tanked the Elden Hollow final boss, veteran Elden Hollow, named Bogdan, and he is a Titan, and he does a massive, massive fire attack on you. And believe it or not, using Mistform, I can actually negate it down to almost nothing. So, but you definitely need the ring, or you will get one shot by a lot of stuff. So, summary here, we have 5 heavy, 2 light, reinforced trait on the heavy, warlock set, infused on the light, one hand and shield, and dual wield. So, and then fire resistance ring. So that is the armor. So now let's go into the Munda Stone. The Munda Stone I'm using for this build is the Lord, which increases my maximum health. Now, ideally you want around 2,500 health. That would be overcharging you as a tank, so that's kind of what you want to aim for. Now, all I have is 49 into armor, so this is only going to bring me to about 2,000 on its own. So I'm using the Lord to kind of make up for that, as well as my food buff, which is currently Enriched Honey Brittle. Increases max health and stamina by 312 for 1 hour. I didn't make this myself. This was given to me by a guild member, Mui. She's like our main provisioner at the moment. I plan to do provisioning on my own at some point, so I can kind of not have to rely on other people for things. But this is what she's given me for the moment. I'm sure there's like I don't even know. I don't know anything about provisioning, so there might be VR10 equivalent to this. I have no idea. But yeah, basically get you some max health, stamina food. That's what I would recommend. With this build, I have a lot of magicka here, and I have a lot of stamina here. I have stamina on my shield as a glyph. There's the stamina recovery. On these, I have unresistible damage, which has nothing to do with tanking, but that's just there for other roles like PvP and stuff. But this will get you. This should get you with 49 into health, as well as the Lord Munda Stone, and then this should put you at about 2560 or so health, and that's perfectly fine. That's overcharged in health. You're good there. So that is it for the attribute points, armor, Munda Stone, and food. So finally, let's get into the abilities. For my first bar here, this is basically my boss bar. So this is what I'm running when I'm tanking a boss, and not the trash pools. What I've got here first is Swallow Soul Strife, my main heal, self-healing. Leeching Strikes, another really powerful heal, as well as my resource regeneration. Unstoppable. This is the heavy armor active ability. And what this does is grants me a pretty decent amount of armor and spell resistance, but the biggest thing is it grants immunity to knockback and disabling effects for the duration. And that's awesome. Like I try to keep this up, I try to keep this up 24/7. If I'm tanking, I'm using this on cooldown. Whenever it drops off me, I put it back on myself, provided I have the stamina. This is my main taunt. Pierce Armor deals physical damage, reduces target's armor and spell resistance by 40% for 12 seconds, and taunts the target for 15 seconds. So this is a taunt, but it's also a debuff. So I use this to increase the damage of both my physical DPS and my magical DPS, and help them out a bit. The final active ability here is Defensive Posture. Reflects next spell projectile back at attacker when activated, increases block mitigation by 5%, and reduces block cost by 5% when slotted. Now, I haven't been using this for very long, and I'm not even really sure which spells can and can't be reflected. But all that aside, just the passive buffs from this ability are reason enough, to take it. So you're getting a 5% reduced block cost, and a 5% increase in block mitigation. So, and this is just rank 1, and this is unmorphed as well. So I'm still in the process of getting this leveled up. I think the best morph for this is defensive stance, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's what our other tank uses, Phasius. So I'm going to have to, get that, check that out. This probably ends up increasing up to like 10% mitigation and block cost, which is incredible. So definitely a great ability to have. And the ultimate here is Veil of Blades. This is kind of the only thing Nightblades can get, to get them close to something like Magnum Armor, which, if for those of you that don't know, caps incoming damage at 3%. So this kind of reduces our damage by 60%, plus, and it, this is, I think, equivalent to like 42 or something percent mitigation from physical attacks. So basically, that's adding a 60% additional damage reduction onto these two stats right here. It pretty much caps our damage at a pretty reasonable amount. We're not taking too much heat when this is up. So that is my single target boss bar. Now for the AoE bar. This is what I use for pretty much every trash pack. There's a few trash packs that don't have the amount of mobs that are necessary for this, so I would just use the one-hand shield in that case. Excuse me. But on this bar, number 1 is Invigorating Drain. So, actually, I guess I should work backwards on this one, because this is kind of the ladder of the build. But basically, let's, Leeching Strikes here. Unstoppable again. This is what I'm going to pop. I'm going to pop this right when I go in, just so, right when you go into a trash pack, they tend to throw everything they got at you, like right off the bat, and then they start doing, their kind of normal rotation of abilities. This keeps me from getting stunned or knocked back or anything during that initial period, because these, a lot of these trash pack pools are, 8-10 mobs, and they will kill you instantly if you get knocked down. If you get knocked down and you can't block or you can't use any of your abilities, very few healers are going to be like, okay, I got this, heal you, you're fine. That's not going to happen. You will die. Ability number 4 here is Volcanic Rune. This is my main CC for trash packs, and basically I'll go ahead and go into to what I do when I initiate a pool. Now I'm not going to have a demonstration for this video because I don't really have any footage yet of me tanking. We've just only started kind of doing the V2 stuff, so, and those things kind of require TeamSpeak coordination, and I haven't kind of figured out a way yet to where I can record without recording TeamSpeak, so I didn't really want to put that in my video. So what I'm going to be doing at a later date this week is recording a bunch of the veteran dungeons without the TeamSpeak audio. I'm just going to turn my mic off for that, and then I'm going to do boss guides as well as tanking guides with those videos and upload those, so you guys can actually see what I'm doing and how I'm utilizing these abilities when I'm tanking, and then you can also learn how to do the boss fights and the mechanics that entail, those fights. But right now, like I said, this is Volcanic Rune, this is my main CC, and this is my main AoE, and I have Bat Swarm as an ultimate. How I utilize these things. So when I first go into a trash pool, 5 to 10 mobs, however many, I instantly pop Unstoppable. That gives me some mitigation as well as my CC immunity. And then I'm just going to start throwing Volcanic Runes under the biggest, grouped up mobs I can find. I'm going to, throw those under there. I'm going to CC, as many mobs as I can, and I'm going to keep CCing them. After a few seconds, my DPS would have done a decent amount of damage to, a lot of the enemies with their AoE abilities. Then I'm going to start whirlwinding. Once this will, if you're, and ideally you want to be, a trick in this game is that you can actually block and use abilities at the same time, as long as they're instacast. So I could be blocking and then whirlwinding, and I'm still getting the benefit of blocking while I'm whirlwinding. So that's ideally what I would do if I notice the targets aren't being currently CC'd and they're going to actually be hitting me. then I'm going to go ahead and block, and then I'll start whirlwinding. And when I run out of stamina, what I will do is I will find a target and use Invigorating Drain. And this is the vampire ability. And what this is going to do is going to sustain me pretty well, because I'll have my healer healing me, plus this is actually a very significant amount of health. So ideally I shouldn't be able to die when I'm using this unless I get CC'd, which I have Unstoppable for that. And this is going to refill my stamina bar completely. So this basically, and I can use this on, I can't use it on the same mob twice, but I can use it on multiple mobs throughout each pool however many times I want, as long as it's a different mob each time. So that's basically what you're going to do here, is you're going to go in, you're going to throw out Volcanic Runes, you're going to, CC the big packs for your DPS, and then you're going to finish them off with Whirlwind and Invigorating Drain to refill your stamina so you can keep blocking and keep whirlwinding. And that's what you're going to do there. Devouring Swarm, this basically makes you unkillable for 5 seconds. So, when you're getting these 5 to 10 trash packs, you're basically getting, if you use your ultimate at the beginning of the fight, you're going to have it again by the time you kill those 10 mobs, and then you'll use it on the next pack. So I would go in, I would probably go in with Volcanic Rune first, and then when I decide I'm going to stop CCing to use Seal Tornado, then I'll pop Devouring Swarm, so I'm just getting tons of healing, and that'll give me leeway to AoE and then, and then into the Invigorating Drain to do it all over again. Another tip is how to use Leeching Strikes properly. So if you're not actively blocking because you're not taking that much pressure, what you should be doing is in between every whirlwind, you want to be next to a target, next to an enemy, and you want to auto attack him. And basically, if you spam your mouse button as fast as you can, and then spam the key for that ability, which for me is E for whirlwind, you will throw off a light attack in between each whirlwind. You may not even see the animation, but you will see the damage if you have DPS. If you have scrolling combat text, you will see that you're getting a light attack in between each whirlwind, even though you're not seeing the animation. It's still throwing it in there. So that's kind of what you want to do. If you're not actually blocking, you're not taking a ton of pressure, then go ahead and throw that light attack in between each whirlwind, and that's going to give Leeching Strikes a chance to proc, which is only going to do good things for you. It's going to give you more stamina, more magicka to keep on going before you need to use Invigorating Drain. So that is the tip for this. I probably wouldn't really, I don't think I've ever changed this up, to be honest. I don't think I've ever slotted things differently depending on what I was fighting. This seems to be pretty universal for me. Now, the single target bar does have room for things to be changed out. So let's start with Unstoppable. If you're fighting a boss, now this gives me, I think it caps out at like 1150. When I max this out at rank 4, it's going to give me like 1150 armor, spell resistance, something like that. Now, that's not like a crazy amount. It's not going to hard cap me on armor and spell resistance, which would be 2500. If I had 2500 spell resistance and 2500 armor, that would be the hard cap, which is 50%. This isn't going to get me there. I can go ahead and use this and show you guys what this is basically going to put me at. 2200 and 2150. Now, that's not hard capped. So what I want to do is, if there's a boss fight, and you guys will learn this as you do these boss fights, if you watch my boss guides or whatever, you'll find out, which bosses do which mechanics and how they work. But basically, if you come to a boss like Bogdan, for instance, he is again, he is a Titan. He is the final boss of Veteran Elden Hollow. He has it's not really scripted per se. It happens fast. So the timing is going to take practice. But he does this fire breath. Now, this doesn't cap me on armor and spell resistance. I'm also a vampire, so this fire breath is fire based. This isn't really going to mitigate any of that for me. So what I would do, because I know the timing on his fire breath, I'm going to come down here into vampire. I'm going to take elusive mist, and I'm going to slot that there. And when I know that it's coming about time for him to do his fire breath, I'm just going to pop elusive mist. This is going to negate 75% of that damage right off the bat. So if I was using this, for instance, that attack would take me to about 15% health. With elusive mist, it only takes me down to about 65%. Massive difference. And if you really want to be a solid tank and a good tank and you really want to help your healer, you need to learn the mechanics of the boss fight so you can utilize things like that. When you know it's going to be a hard hit, that this isn't really going to negate, pop on Elusive Mist, or if you're not a vampire, you could possibly use Shadow Cloak. This is gonna activate Shadow Barrier, which is going to give you 1750, which is significantly more than the 1150 that you're getting from Unstoppable. So it's not going to be quite as good as Elusive Mist, but it's still going to give you more mitigation to help your healer out. I want to say the last ability I would change here, depending on the situation, would be Defensive Posture. One fight, for example, in Dark Shade Caverns, I believe, Veteran Dark Shade Caverns, there's this huge group of constructs, like Dwemer constructs, and you pull these guys, and basically you're just rolling the dice depending on how many are going to come at you at one time. It's like mass. There's like 20, 25, 35 of these constructs in the room, and you just pull and you roll the dice, see what you get. Now there's multiple different types of constructs. There's like the really, really big ones. There's the little spherical ones. There's the crab ones. Now, what I would do here what I do for that fight is instead of Defensive Posture, I take Volcanic Rune and I slot that there. The reason I do this is because I have a chance to get a big construct, which is a single target boss to me. I need to tank this guy with a shield because he does a ton of damage. So I need this bar. But then with that construct, I'm going to get a bunch of smaller adds that I can CC. So I'm going to take Volcanic Rune and CC those smaller adds while I tank the big boss to reduce the damage that my group is taking, as well as myself. So these are like the two abilities that I would interchange depending on the fight and the mechanic involved in that fight. Again, this is pretty static. I don't really change this. There's, the trash packs don't vary that much, so you don't really need to switch this up. So I want to say that's about it. Again, passives, get them all. Excuse me. So we got, Assassination, Shadow, Siphoning, everything's full. Believe it or not, I have not finished leveling One-Handed Shield. Because I didn't level with this, I leveled with Dual Wield Bow, so this is not quite there yet, but I'm missing 2 points here. But get those when you get them. Dual Wield, everything. Bow, everything. I only use the 2-piece for light, so I only have the first 3. These require 5 pieces, and I do not use that, so those I do not get. All of medium, which I use for everything else aside from tanking. All of heavy, you want all of these passives. All of the vampire, you should have all of these. I just don't feel like getting them at the moment. Fighters Guild, these are very helpful. Mages Guild, I don't need this because this does nothing for Volcanic Rune. Racials, all that. So, make sure you can get, do Sky Shard runs, do the story quests. You get skill points for all that stuff. You need a lot of skill points. Like, I have 31 unspent. I have about 200 spent. So, this is what you need to aim for. You want, as many passives as you can get. So, I think that's about it, guys. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to make boss guide videos that are going to also go over the tanking mechanics that I use in those dungeons. They're going to be full clears. I'm going to do the trash pulls. I'm going to do everything. I may shorten it up so it's not too long, but the dungeons in this game really aren't that long. They're about 20 minutes with a good group. So, and another thing to keep in mind is that the people I run with, my healer, my DPS, they're amazing at the game. So if you're going in with this build into a pug, don't get discouraged if things go badly, because odds are it may not be your fault. There are a lot of people in this game that don't seem to understand that AoE is required for these trash pools. These trash pools are huge. There's a ton of mobs. They all hit like trucks. You need AoE for this stuff. Going around and single targeting each one just doesn't work, and there's a lot of DPS in this game that don't understand that. So don't get discouraged if you're going in and it's not working out for you. I can assure you this build is incredible for when you're running with a good team. I have 2 really good DPS and a great healer, and we absolutely steamroll these veteran dungeons. So we were doing the veteran dungeons, the V2 dungeons at like at like VR6, and the mobs in those dungeons are VR10, and we were doing those at VR6 with VR1 gear on. So, you know, this build works. I can promise you that. You know, and if you need any additional help, hit me up on Tamriel Foundry. Hit me up in the comments below. I try to read everything. I try to respond to everybody. But that's about it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. This has been Griffith. Keep a lookout for my future videos. Thanks for watching.